This is Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details. Here are your hosts, Joe, Matt, and Kris.
We are going to give you our best AFC defensive lineups. We were talking from the trenches back to the safety. Everywhere we're going to give you our picks for the best players at their positions in AFC history. Caveats. These players had to play the majority of their career in the AFC. You will not see one-year guys end up in this roster. It will not happen. We will be following on this video with offensive AFC picks as well as the NFC picks for both offense and defense. And then we're going to break down in an additional video just who wins this matchup. But we are going to start in the trenches, like I said. And Kris, you are doing the defensive line for the AFC. So please tell us, who are our defensive tackles and defensive ends all-time AFC?
Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and just say who I'm looking at as far as selecting this. Y'all may agree or disagree. So we'll go there, and then we can go over kind of each one as far as like what their stats are and all that fun stuff. So if I'm looking at building the AFC, AFC defensive side, right? So we're looking at in the trenches type of guys. We're going to go with, if we're going with a 4 set, we're going with J.J. Watt, Richard Seymour, Mean Joe Green, and of course Myles Garrett, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Who's stopping that group? Who's stopping that group? Your QB is about to have a very rough day, a very rough day on Sunday. So we'll start obviously with Myles Garrett because he's obviously the most recent. 6-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. Obviously, he's been the Defensive Player of the Year several times. Only thing he really hasn't done in his career up to this point is win a Super Bowl, to be quite honest. I think he is ridiculously dominant. He gives so many problems to QBs, so many problems to offensive lines, even really good offensive lines. So I don't know what offensive line, whether you're talking about Hall of Fame offensive linemen or you're talking about current offensive linemen, who is really stopping this guy? You may have to triple team him to stop him. I don't see very many stopping him. So if you're looking at Myles Garrett on one side, flip it to the other side. Now you're looking at J.J. Watt. And the reason I bring up J.J. Watt is because obviously majority of his career, he was with the Texans, right? Before he moved over. So when you're looking at J.J. Watt, you're looking at a 5-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro. He's obviously going into the Hall of Fame. He has a ridiculous amount of Defensive Player of the Year stats. His stats by themselves are ridiculous. His whole career, he had over 114 sacks in his entire season. He had 27 forced fumbles. The dude was also a maniac, also gets after the ball, gets after the quarterback. So if you're getting both of those on each side, I don't know what any offensive line is supposed to do to stop both of them. Because if you're double teaming both, then you're just leaving an open gap for those other two to come right in and attack your center, which is going to be Richard Seymour and Mean Joe Green. I don't think if people watch football, shouldn't really have to go too much into Mean Joe Green. He's a ridiculous athlete, obviously a Hall of Famer, 10-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. He was in he has four Super Bowl championships. He's just a ridiculous player, all-time player. Steelers fans are absolutely gonna love this pick, I feel like. And then Richard Seymour, I'm not trying to be, because I'm a Patriots fan, so obviously they're going to think I'm bringing that up because of that. But believe it or not, Richard Seymour, to me, is an absolute dime pick when it comes to what you want on the defensive side of the ball. 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, again, 3 Super Bowl champions. So you already have, at least 2 players that have already gotten multiple Super Bowl championships who are ridiculous on the inside, and then you have your ridiculous on the outside with Myles Garrett and J.J. Watt. I don't know what offensive line is actually going to be able to do anything with those 4 up front, so good luck with that. So those are my picks for the defensive tackles.
The worst part about you picking Richard Seymour and saying people don't want it to be a homer pick is that Bills Mafia is about to be absolutely irate. That all-time sack leader, Bruce Smith, 15-year Buffalo Bill, I think he had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 double-digit sack seasons, 200 total sacks.
But so many.
30 forced fumbles and 2 INTs.
Can only pick with so many, man.
Did not make the list. So Bills Mafia, he was on my list. If I had done the defensive line, he was on my list.
There you go.
Kris didn't pick him.
Like him.
She's a Buffalo Bills hater.
I am not. He's a star. He's like right under. He just hasn't been. He's elevated. He's
honorable mention. If there was a bench spot for a player, I'm the coach. Bruce Smith's starting and Seymour sitting his fat ass down, but that's just me. That's just me. But we're going to move on to the linebackers now, and we've already got our big snub out of the way, which means that there's no way Matt can snub a linebacker on this list, but we're about to find out if he's capable. So, Matt, we need a middle linebacker and 2 outside linebackers for this 4-3 front.
Listen, Joe, I mean, the middle linebacker might be the most obvious choice that pretty much, and maybe outside of our AFC quarterback that we'll get to on a future episode, but pretty much any selection that we're going to have here, Ray Lewis. I mean, the literal greatest linebacker of all time, not only a great player, but maybe the greatest leader in the history of sports, Ray Lewis. Like, this guy was an unbelievable leader, unbelievable football player, obviously, as well. I'll just read the accolades off and move on. 17-year career, 12-time Pro Bowler, 10-time All-Pro, the all-time leading tackler in NFL history, led the league in tackles 3 years, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time Super Bowl champ, and a Super Bowl MVP. One of the most intimidating players ever as well. Anybody who you ask as far as NFL players go about Ray Lewis will tell you he is the most intimidating player of all time. Absolute no-brainer selection. It is Ray Lewis. Now, this is where it might be a little bit controversial. I'm playing this guy at outside linebacker because that's what he was for his career. He was an off-ball linebacker. I'm going with Junior Seau. I'm picking Junior Seau as one of my outside linebackers in this group. And again, we're going to have plenty of pass rush. We're going to have plenty of upfront help with the group that Kris just picked. So I want another guy who can go sideline to sideline and make a bunch of tackles going along with Ray Lewis, and that's Junior Seau. How about a 20-year NFL career as a linebacker for Junior Seau? 12-time Pro Bowler, 12 straight Pro Bowls from 1991 to 2002, 9-time All-Pro, 6 first-team All-Pros, was the DPOY runner-up in 1992, and 8th all-time in tackles. Just a hell of a career, and RIP to Junior Seau because he was someone that he inspired a lot of NFL players across the years, and he was a damn good football player. So Junior Seau is going to be on our NFL all-time team, or an AFC all-time defense here for the AFC. And my other outside linebacker, this one was pretty easy for me. I'm going with Derek Thomas, the Kansas City Chiefs outside linebacker. Today, he'd probably just be labeled as an edge. We kind of talked about this pre-show. A lot of these guys who are outside linebackers back in the day would probably just be labeled as edge now, and they'd just be like, go get the quarterback. You know, like you're one of the best rushers of all time. Just go get the quarterback. That's what Derek Thomas was. And again, he's going to be on the edge with, J.J. Watt and Myles Garrett, and this, like the NFC quarterback is going to go through hell with these guys on the edge because these guys are going to absolutely dominate on the edge. And it's going to leave Ray Lewis and Junior Seau to take care of a lot of the traditional linebacker duties as far as that goes too. But for Derek Thomas, 9 Pro Bowls, 5 All-Pros, 20 sacks in 1990 as well, 126.5 sacks all-time as well. He was the 1989 Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he was 9th all-time in forced fumbles as well with 41, while playing far fewer games than everyone above him. So Derek Thomas, one of the best forced fumble artists of his era, and he's easily one of the greatest pass rushers of all time, and an easy add to this linebacker core. So for us, this AFC linebacker core, it's going to be Ray Lewis, obviously. It's going to be Derek Thomas, obviously. And I like Junior Seau as another off-ball linebacker here for this AFC defense.
And it's crazy I said we couldn't snub anybody else. And here I am looking at my linebacker list in the AFC, and I'm like, where the hell is Terrell Suggs? Where is Terrell Suggs?
You don't think we have edge rush already? You don't think we have that covered? We got freaking Myles Garrett, J.J. Watt, and Derek Thomas. You don't think we got edge rush covered already? Let's get another freaking linebacker in there, like a true linebacker.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And, Patriots fans are sitting there be like, Teddy Bruschi and everybody else we had there. Like we have, there were so many great AFC linebackers. So, obviously Terrell Suggs in my mind, that just an absolute beast. Him and Ray Lewis dominated for years up front for that Baltimore Ravens team. And, we're a core piece of that. But we're going to go ahead and move on to defensive back. Now, we're going to mention 3 defensive backs, one for one reason. Obviously, we're 4-3, we're at 7 people. Obviously, we should have 2 defensive backs, 2 safeties. That should be it. But we are going to have an optional third corner here so that we can have someone guarding the slot for third down passing situations, which you need. So, without any further ado, I have the cornerbacks for the AFC, and I'm going to go ahead and start off with one of my favorite corners of all time, and that's Charles Woodson. I love Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson, Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year in 1998, Defensive Player of the Year in 2009, one-time Super Bowl champ, three-time All-Pro, nine-time Pro Bowler, all right? This guy absolutely was a stud. 65 INTs, 11 touchdowns, 966 yards, also return kicks. Great player. Absolutely insane. On the other side, I don't know who I want to put in my slot, but I'm gonna name off my three corners regardless. Darrelle Revis is my other corner right now. Putting Darrelle Revis easy on the other side. 4-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 1-time Super Bowl champ, Hall of Fame All 2010s team. Probably should have had a Defensive Player of the Year to his honor, but I digress. And then my final corner, my final defensive back, who actually has the ability to shift between safety and corner because he played safety towards the end of his career, Rod Woodson.
Pick.
Rod Woodson. I have to have Rod Woodson on there. 6-time All-Pro, 11-time Pro Bowler, 71 interceptions, 12 TDs, and 1,400 yards of return yards for interceptions. The guy is an absolute animal, and I don't care what Woodson's covering who, they're coming up with a pick right now, all right? So if the quarterback even gets the ball off, somebody is picking this ball off because there's no separation. I don't give a shit who's running routes.
Well, listen, Joe, I'm gonna come up with a snub here for you. And honestly, I didn't put Charles Woodson in mind because I think he was
Champ Bailey.
It's
Champ Bailey. I want him so bad.
I would have Champ Bailey over Charles Woodson because, again, we're picking the AFC team here, right? And you look at Charles Woodson's AFC numbers when he was with the Oakland Raiders for the first part of his career and then the end of his career. It wasn't quite as good as when he was in the NFC with the Green Bay Packers and the accolades that he accomplished there. When you look at Champ Bailey, someone who also he was an AFC and NFC guy. He started his career in Washington, but then he goes over to Denver. He ends up being a 12-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, a Defensive Player of the Year runner-up in 2006. He had 10 picks in 2006, 10 interceptions in 2006. He had 50 all-time for his career, and he's the all-time leader in pass deflection as well with 203 and a first ballot Hall of Famer. So to me, I would have went with Champ Bailey over Charles Woodson in that circumstance, just because I think Champ Bailey was a little bit better in his AFC career than Charles Woodson was. But hey, I don't think anybody's going to be mad with. I don't think anybody's going to be mad with Charles Woodson.
No. The funny thing is I was literally flip-flopping on both of them. And another guy I want to give a good shout out to just because he crossed my mind. And the only reason I would have put him in here is because it would have been a straight homer pick. Ty Law. I love Ty Law. Fair. Ty Law is a great corner. I love Ty Law. And Stephon Gilmore, big shout out to Gilly. Gilly Locke was had his time as well. I struggled with these guys because realistically, you could have picked any of them, and I don't think anyone would have been totally upset. But however, I think that Champ Bailey and Charles Woodson, to your point, are interchangeable. I don't know. It was very difficult for me to pick one. I like Charles Woodson better just because I'm a Charles Woodson guy. I'm a big fan of his game. Champ Bailey, the only time I think about Champ Bailey is getting ran down by Benjamin Watson. That's the only thing that sticks in my head when I start thinking about Champ Bailey. So it is. But we are going to move on to our safeties, and I don't think this is even a debate, but we're going to see if Matt decides to snub some other people here. So Matt, who are my safeties in the AFC?
I don't think anybody's going to be mad at the safeties that I'm going to pick here because these are two safeties that I don't know about you guys that were giving me nightmares in the mid 2000s as a New England Patriots fan and on some of the best AFC North defenses that we've ever seen. The first one is my free safety, and it's obvious he's one of the greatest defensive players of all time, easily the greatest free safety of all time, in my opinion, one of the smartest and greatest defensive players, period, of all time, and someone that Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Bill Belichick, you've heard stories about this guy from these guys talking about how elite of a defensive player he is. It's Ed Reed, the free safety from the Baltimore Ravens. Obvious pick here. 9-time Pro Bowler, eight-time All-Pro, 04 Defensive Player of the Year as well, a 1-time Super Bowl champ. He had 5 seasons with 7 or more interceptions, and he led the league in picks 3 times, 2 seasons with 8 picks, 1 season with 9 picks. And he has the 12th most pick sixes of all time with 7 as well, but he has the most return yards of all interceptions as well of all time. So he was electric with the ball in his hand, and he was electric as far as just reading defenses and being able to diagnose plays just pre-snap and post-snap. This guy was unbelievable as far as just being able to diagnose and pick off quarterbacks. And you saw the story that Bill Belichick was telling about him, where Peyton Manning basically looked one way, felt like saw Ed Reed take a couple steps, and then Ed Reed knew he was going to do that, flipped the field, because he knew Manning was going to go to the other side and picked off Manning on the other side. So the things that Ed Reed were doing were unbelievable as from a free safety position. So Ed Reed is the obvious free safety pick here, but the strong safety pick, again, it's again one of the greatest strong safeties of all time, and it was Ed Reed's bitter rival in the AFC North playing for his again bitter rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's Troy Polamalu here for the strong safety for the AFC. Again, 8-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro, 2010 Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time Super Bowl champ, and he was the face of the second steel curtain in the 2000s with those great Steelers defenses. So he did literally everything well. I'm sure today's day and age basically just remembers him for jumping over the offensive line and sacking quarterbacks. But he did so many things well. One-handed interceptions, tip ball interceptions, pick sixes, whatever you name it. Troy Polamalu did it, and he did it at a high level. And again, he was just that hair sticking out the helmet, running around on that defense was an absolutely iconic look. And again, he was the best player on those Steelers defenses a lot of the time. So again, the safeties were easy. It's Ed Reed and it's Troy Polamalu for the safeties in the AFC.
Great.
Yeah, and to be fair, I do want to give a special shout out to a guy that I really enjoyed watching in the early 2000s, Rodney Harrison. I want to give a big shout out to Rodney Harrison.
I thought about him.
He is the AFC version, and him and Polamalu were the AFC version of Brian Dawkins and Sean Taylor. I mean, they were the big heavy hitters that everyone was afraid of. And to your point, you talk about Bill Belichick talking about Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu and all of these great players talking about these safeties. My favorite conversation that anyone's ever had that is on record is Pat McAfee's discussion of Troy Polamalu ruining his touchdown and the guy going, I don't know if you would have feared Ed Reed. He goes, oh, I would have feared Ed Reed. That's E.D. Reed, boy, the best safety you've ever seen, boy. That is how I like when we talk about when you think of something that is so iconic, how it describes players, where a person who doesn't even really have to worry about that player absolutely is terrified of any situation they could possibly be put in to face that player. So that's all you have to say about Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu. So we have now gone full defensive configuration, including a slot corner. We have shown that we have 12 total people here to utilize. And I want you guys in the comments telling us what we got wrong. I know there's snubs. I'm ready to hear who we snubbed, who you believe we snubbed, how we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Tell us your all-time NFC team in the comments, what we got wrong. Can't wait for it. And be sure to tune in for our next episode, which is we are going to be talking all-time AFC offense.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.